Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Miha and welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'll show you how you can set up and run LLMs on your own computer in as little as 5 minutes. Today, we'll be using a tool called LM Studio. There are a number of other tools out there that can do what we'll do today, but I think LM Studio is one that's potentially the easiest to set up and start with, but it does offer enough advanced features that if you do want to play around with some additional options, you can do so. In this video, though, we're going to cover just the basics, how to set up the tool and how to identify the models that will run for you. Before we jump to the lab, I want to cover two important concepts that will be relevant in selecting the models, the AI models themselves, that we will run in LM Studio. These concepts are parameters and tokens, and I will keep this really simple. You can think of parameters as the brain power of the model. The more parameters it has, the more connections it can make, the more nuanced responses you'll get, the more accurate it will be. Smaller models, so with smaller number of parameters, will be quicker and more likely to run on average laptops. So for example, a 7B model has 7 billion parameters, 24B has 24 billion parameters, 70B, 70 billion, and so forth. You can think of a general 7B model as a quick assistant that can give you quick answers and great for conversations, and 24B or 30B models more as your specialists. The second concept I want to discuss is tokens. Now, tokens you can think of as short-term memory. Like when an AI model is answering your question, imagine it has a scratch pad and it's writing notes on a piece of paper. It can only remember and deal with what it puts on that one piece of paper. That's one way of thinking about tokens. Most of the smaller models that we'll use today, the 7B models, generally start at around 4,000 tokens. 4,000 tokens doesn't mean 4,000 words. It turns out that some words have more than one token, but generally speaking, you can convert tokens to words with a 3/4 conversion. So 4,000 tokens is about 3,000 words or about 6 to 7 pages. So if you're running a model that's maxed at 4,000 tokens, you can still upload a 3 to 4 page PDF document and get a 3 to 4 page response. So how many parameters and how many tokens should you aim for? Well, that will depend on your hardware. Now, the good news first, LM Studio will actually show you your processor. It'll show you how much RAM you have in total, and it will recommend models. So the following information is just for your reference. I'll show you how LM Studio will help us make that selection based on your particular computer specifications. Generally, I would use this conversion table. If you have between 6 to 8 gigabytes of video RAM, or equivalent of about 8 to 16 gigabytes of RAM, I would say aim for a model that's around 7B, 7 billion parameters. And you can safely run something between 4 to 8,000 tokens. Then, of course, the more RAM you have, the larger models you can run. And this table should give you a rough idea. If you're using a Mac with unified memory, this is the conversion table you want to use. Again, this is just meant to be as a quick reference. LM Studio will help us deal with this, so you don't have to worry about this at all. And why are we so focused on the VRAM if you're looking at a PC? Well, it's because most AI models will actually run on your GPU, your graphical processing unit. GPUs are just better at running AI. This, by the way, is why NVIDIA is in such high demand and why the stock price has raised so much, because they have led development on GPUs and now have a lead in the AI market as well. So one way to think about it is that how much VRAM you have answers the question, can you run this model at all? The power of your CPU or GPU determines how quickly the model will run. And your RAM is more of a backup, right? If you run out of VRAM, LM Studio will then default to RAM, although running models in RAM is a lot slower than VRAM. And again, this is just meant to be a quick reference. LM Studio will actually help you identify the model that will run effectively on your hardware. So let's get to the studio and set it up. To get started, we need to download LM Studio from their webpage. Simply go to lmstudio.ai and you can find the link in the video description below. Follow the installation instructions. It's pretty straightforward. Once you have downloaded the software, you'll be greeted with this window. There are only a few things we need to do to actually get started. My first recommendation is in the bottom left corner to change it to Power User View. This is not going to change too much, but it'll give us a little bit more information to work with. You can simply begin by clicking Create New Chat. And a chat window will pop up, very similar to what we've seen in ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Copilot, or any other online chatbot that you might be used to. And we can enter a message. Now, we'll first be given an error. It'll tell us to load a model to send a message. Remember that LM Studio is the software package. It does not include the large language model. So we have to select a language model and download it first. So let's do that. On the left side of the screen, you've got an option that says Discover. We click this magnifying glass. The first thing I recommend you do is go to Hardware. This will show you the specifications of your current computer. If you're not familiar with these, you can find your total memory, your CPU, and the GPU that you are running, and the total memory that is available to an LLM, at least in LM Studio. Now, the good news is that you don't even need to use the cheat sheet that I showed you earlier in deciding what size of a model you should run, because LM Studio will actually do that check for you. But I did want to show you that you can get your hardware specifications directly in LM Studio. You can also go to application settings on the bottom if you want to change the overall look of the model, the color theme, language, etc. There are some more advanced options in here, but we are not going to cover those in this video. Once you've set your preferences the way you like, we will go to Model Search, and we will actually pick the LLM model that we want LM Studio to run for us. Now, what you want to do first is under Best Match, or the sorting options, make sure that only include staff picks that can fit on my device is enabled. This means that LM Studio will only show you models that it believes will run on your hardware. You can also verify this by looking on the right here under download options. You'll see that this particular model says full GPU offload possible. That's what you're looking for. That means that the model itself can sit in your video RAM, and that means it's more likely to run quickly and efficiently. Some models will have different messages. For example, this Hermes 470B model will say partial GPU offload possible for me. That means that I can still run it, but it will not be as quick. Now, for our purposes today, I recommend we use a model called Mistral 7B, Instruct V0.3. This is the one you want to look for. This is a general purpose model. It has 7 billion parameters. This should run on most relatively modern computers, including laptops. So once we select this model, in the bottom right, simply click Download, and LM Studio will download it for us. Please be patient, as some of these are quite large. So there are many other models that you can choose from. I'll include a few of my favorites in the links below. So this is now done. Now we can click the Use in Chat option, but I'm just going to close these windows here and show you what happens. Again, we don't have a model loaded yet. So if I, again, say, hello, it'll simply say load a model. To load a model, what you want to do is go at the very top here. It says select a model to load. So if we mouse over this and click on this, you'll see a list of all the models that you've downloaded. Right now, we only have the Mistral 7B Instruct that we downloaded. So we click here, give it a second or two, and our model is loaded. Now, if we continue with the hello prompt, the model will respond. And that's it. We're running our own model. You can upload files just as you can in ChatGPT, for example. So let's try doing that. I'll attach a file. It'll tell you what type of files you can upload and the file size. So we are limited to a combined file size of 30 megabytes. So let's do a little test here. We'll upload a job description that we used in the previous video. This is for a Google sales job. So I'm going to load this PDF. This is around 3 pages. And I will ask it a question. Let's ask it to highlight the key skills necessary for this job. And there we go. We've got a quick response with a highlight of the key jobs. Now let's ask it to write a cover letter for this position. And there we go. I mean, we didn't give it any context or just made things up, but that's how quick it is. And of course, we can continue this conversation just as with ChatGPT or Gemini. You can start new chats, you can organize them, and continue running with new models. We can also test these same prompts in ChatGPT just to give you a comparison. So let me do that now. I will use exactly the same prompts that we have here and exactly the same file in ChatGPT, and then we can compare them side by side. I will include the output of both of these in the video description below so you can compare them and see which model you prefer. So ChatGPT gives us a little bit more of a breakdown rather than just listing it like what Mistral did for us. But the information is quite similar. Now let's give it exactly the same prompt and ask it to write a cover letter. So I think Mistral was a little bit quicker with the cover letter generation. Again, I'll post both of the letters in the video description below so you can compare the quality. And that's it. That's all it takes to run an LLM on your computer. I would recommend trying out different models, seeing which ones can run, and then decide which one works best for you. And there are a whole host of more advanced options that you can play with. If you select your chat in the top right corner, you see this wrench. These are settings for this chat and the model itself. If you want to play around a little bit, I'd recommend starting with temperature. Temperature decides how much randomness, how creative the model's allowed to be. Low temperatures means the models will be a little bit more focused. Higher temperatures means models will be more creative. Sometimes they can go completely off the rails if temperature is too high. 0.7, 0.6 is kind of the sweet spot, but you can experiment with this if you want to get a better sense for how to fine tune models. Temperature is what I would recommend starting with. There are a whole host of other options here as well, but we will not cover those in this video. And that's how simple it is to run a local AI model. Now, is it worth it? Well, there are certainly some advantages to using cloud-based tools that we're used to, things like ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini. Number one, those models are very large and they can handle a lot more tokens, which means we can upload larger documents. They can also generate images, video, things that local models at this point in time, at least, cannot do without spending an obscene amount of money, that is. And cloud models have an additional benefit that all your conversations are stored in the cloud, so you can access them from anywhere. The advantages of local models, though, are the one that they're not in the cloud, so they are private. In fact, after you download LM Studio and download your LLMs, you can disconnect from the internet. Those models will run just fine. So what you put into LM Studio stays on your computer and doesn't go anywhere else, and it's not being used to train models. And two, while the data centers are generally more efficient per chip, because those models are so much larger, they will usually use more electricity and certainly more water to cool data centers than any of your locally run models. So if you care about the footprint that you are leaving in the environment, then you might want to consider using local models, at least where they're applicable. Personally, I use local models when I'm dealing with data that has to be kept confidential. That would be working with clients or student data. Those are the kind of things that I will learn locally because it does not go anywhere, stays on my computer, and I have a lot more certainty that that data is safe. However, if I'm dealing with large documents, large amounts of data that is publicly available, then yes, I will default to, say, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, or some other cloud-based tool. I hope you'll enjoy experimenting with LM Studios and that you'll find an AI model that works for you. If you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.